Hey, so in today's video, I'd like to speak with you about another thing involving death. Death Part 2, we're calling it. So, this is part of the big series, the Death series, I'm going to call it. It's a grim thing, but it's a grim title, but it's a grim topic, right? So, I'm straight to the point with it. So, this is going to have like a bunch of different episodes and things all across the lifespan of me in the channel. So, this is part 2, but it doesn't have any like single story in the parts. Anyway, in today's video, the family member I spoke of in the last death video, the part 1, has died. And I just wanted to speak with you about a lesson that it can provide. So, part due to the circumstances of his death, which were medically assisted. So we have a thing in Canada called MAID, medically assisted in death. And MAID just does exactly that. You know, it'll kill you, but you set a time, you set a day, you'll die then. Now, the thing that I want to talk about here is if you knew how you were going to die, how would you live your life differently? I heard this once. This is not something I made up. But it's such a curious quote, right? A curious saying, because it really makes you think. You know, what would you do differently? And in this case, he knew exactly when he was going to die. He knew where. I mean, maybe not exactly all the details, because he could have died before. But he had this day in mind, where that day was going to be, if anything, his last day. And it just makes you act different, you know? It makes you wonder things. It makes you think. It makes you become a different person in a way. Because I saw the person he was get so morphed, like not in a bad way. He wasn't morphed into like a bad thing. But he became so caring in his final moments, in his final days. I didn't see him, but I know things. I hear things. He spoke to people in my family, and I know them. My mom is one of them, so I get the stories. I get the things, and he became a different person, not in a bad way, but in a good way. He became a significantly more caring version of who he was, and it's something of a role we should set, like a model we should set for ourselves. Because I was looking at it and I thought, you know, based on the situation, you know, he knows he's going to die. He knows. Look at how he chooses to act. What if we just did that all the time? Or at least some of the time. Because I know I'm going to tell, you'll hear all these quotes, like, live like it's your last moment, or, you know, do all that kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's not something you just do. You don't just pick it up one day and you live like every moment is going to be your last. Nobody is that way. Maybe someone really dedicated. But you know how much effort it took them to get there. So, I'm not telling you to live a lifestyle based on it. I'm just telling you, live some moments, some decisions based on it. So this is supposed to be like a challenge for you too. I want you to like set a time in the future. Like if I was going to die 2 years from this day, or 6 months from this day, I don't really care what you're going to choose. Choose something, but let's say for me, I'm going to die a year from this day. How are we going to live? How are we going to live our lives? How am I going to live my life? How are we going to do this different? What do we don't do? What do we do? And all it really has me thinking is I would be living such a, say, caring and fulfilling and purposeful life. I'd be doing things so like just out of the ordinary, right? Things that you won't get the chance to do because you'll be dead. But, you know, this is all hypothetical, so I'm not telling you to like apply it to your life, but I'm saying think about it, think about what you do, genuine, like do a genuine thought process. What would I do? What goals would I try to achieve? And just wonder, am I living my life to a degree like I'm going to die at some point? Like am I working towards something, at least to a slight degree, knowing that I'm going to die at some point? Because it's a different thing when you know and when you don't know. Like everybody knows, but nobody knows. You know what I mean? So, well, you probably don't know what that means. What I'm saying is that everybody knows we're going to die at some point, but only so many people truly understand that, truly respect that, truly accept that. Only so many people do that. So do you really know, or do you just know? So ask yourself that, try to figure it out, and just wonder, am I living my life in some ways like that? When you're doing things with your family, do you say I love you every now and then, or do you barely ever say it? Do you say take care to people regardless? You might see them in maybe a couple hours. Do you still say take care? Do you have the manners? Do you work towards goals that will help people, help society, help anything? Or do you just spend your time selfishly on you? And there's a difference between like I'm studying for my job, which will help people, and I'm just doing things for myself. If you're studying, that's not selfish. You're working to give people things. But it would be like a doctor. If you're studying to be a doctor, great, you're going to save lives. But I'm not going to get on you about how, you're not a doctor yet. Because what? Do I want you to put a needle in my arm when you're not a doctor yet? So there's a difference in selfishness. I'll talk about that in another video. But do you work towards things that will help people and others? Or do you just solely always do things for yourself? Do you have goals that you would have rather seen accomplished long ago, but you just push them off? Because if you apply this mindset, you're going to realize how tangible we are. We can flip the switch any moment. I almost died this week too. So, it's not something I'm asking you to apply to your whole life, but apply it to your goals and apply it to big things. Apply it to things that require process, require thought. Make it a habit in some small instances, like saying I love you, saying take care, those things, having manners. Just apply it in appropriate amounts. I'm not saying do everything, because nobody does. I don't care how many inspirational quotes you'll read on the internet. Nobody does this, all right? Nobody lives their life exactly like they're going to die at every given moment. No one. No one. You're still going to waste time. You're still going to do things. Still not going to do things. We're human. So don't try to be perfect. Just try to be better. But I really want you to sit with this, because it relates back to the story I was saying, which is he became such a different man. He looked at his life. He knew exactly how he was going to die. He knew when. He knew where. He knew who he was going to be with. And what he chose to do was make the best of it. And switch from being the person he was to a person who he feels had a more lasting impact. To a person who worked to be more purposeful, who was less selfish, who was way more productive even in a sickened state. I mean, he didn't work, but he provided valuable time with his family and with his friends. More valuable than ever. And isn't that great? Imagine what you could do if you weren't dying and you had that mindset. You'd work not only to give everybody the best of you in every moment, but to give your goals the best of you, which is something he could not do because it was too late for him. So if you apply this, you can do it. You can achieve anything. You can do anything. easily. I mean, not easily, but way easier than if you didn't have the right mindsets and you didn't have the right way of thinking of things. You can't deny that. You can't. So the one thing that really stuck with me, which I want you to think about, is if you knew how you were going to die, how would you live your life differently? Think about it. Apply it in small doses, like I said. I don't want you to be that master guru guy who lives exactly like he's going to die at every single given moment. Don't be like that. Don't strive for perfection. Strive to be better, as I said. So just think about this in the big things you do, and even in the little things too. As much as you can, just think about it. I promise you. You'll get so much more done. People will be so much happier. You'll be so much happier. You won't regret it. So just give it a go for a little while. That's my challenge. So let's make his death worth a lesson. Well, I'm not going to say something like it wasn't worth a lot already, but worth something. Anyway, that's all. Take care, my friend.